Welcome to The Dead Life. Today we're taking questions for our Love Me, Love Me Not segment, and these questions are somewhat complicated to answer, but we'll give it our best shot. Today I'm joined by my daughter, Sophia DuBois, to weigh in with her intuition and insight. If you want to leave me a message that might be shared on a future episode of The Dead Life and my Love Me, Love Me Not segment, leave it at 802-DEAD-811. That's 802-332-3811. You can follow me on Instagram at Medium Allison, on my Facebook fan page. You can binge on my YouTube videos to watch readings, including episodes of The Dead Life. If you have abilities of your own and are looking to expand them and connect with other gifted people, go to deaduniversity.com. We have our first Dead University summer camp this summer, July 11th through the 14th in Sedona, Arizona. If you want to be a part of it, sign up at deaduniversity.com. So, Sophia, how are you?
I'm good. Happy to be back.
It's always good to have you back.
Thanks.
So, we had some multifaceted callers calling in, and you're going to have to pay attention to the questions. Some of them are kind of long.
Okay.
But they're detailed because they're complicated relationships, which is what we do.
That's what we do. Okay. I'm ready for it.
All right. Let's start with the first one.
Hi, Allison. I love your daughter and I think it's Sophia, and your new podcast that you guys do with her about love. And I have a question. So the backstory is I've been married for 20 years. We have 4 kids, ages 18 to 12. And me and the children have been putting up with his verbal abuse for years. The last straw was in front of my youngest about 2 years ago. And I said we were done. And we both agreed that it was a good time to get divorced. We told the kids that night, and immediately he blamed me, and he told all of us that we would all be penniless, and he would be quitting his job, and that would make us homeless. And then within a millisecond, he changed his mind, and he begged us all to forgive him, and he promised that he would change. It's been 2 years since that day, and not a lot has changed. So my question for you is, what are your thoughts on marriage that's staying for the kids and the comfort that provides us, etc.? You know, money, food, clothing, private schools, college is paid for, things that he does for us, or is being quote unquote penniless and homeless my other option? Thank you for your time and all you do. Take care.
So I find for all time, women have been dealing with this problem, which is why I raised you girls to make your own money, because this often happens. Women devote their life to a relationship, and then you get a man that holds the purse strings, that sometimes tries to control you through that and the children. And it can go the other way around too, but predominantly it's that scenario. So I will say this, depending on how much your husband makes, because he's saying you're going to be left penniless and homeless, courts frown on that. Not likely to happen. If she's been with him, she has kids between the ages of, she say
12 to 18.
12 to 18. Mm-hmm. If they have been together that long, half of all of the equity, to my understanding, would go to her in the appreciation of the house, her being the homemaker, giving up career. The courts take that into consideration. And he probably knows that, which is why he's threatening her. Girl, I'd take half and walk away. In this scenario, you described it as an abusive relationship. Judging from what he's threatened you and the children with, people he claims to love, I would say this person seems somewhat incapable of understanding what love really is, because you don't hurt the people that you love. I'm sorry your kids had to witness that as well, because they're going to always remember that about their dad. Should you stay for the comfort? Sounds like their college is already taken care of. He's not going to blame the kids for you leaving, but he most likely will use them as some sort of pawns. Your kids are older, though, so I think they're going to have a better understanding of what exactly is happening here. they might be harder for him to manipulate. So this is a very difficult question. Obviously, it's a free will issue where she can choose to stay and forfeit her life until the kids are off to college. I will say, being a child of divorce myself, a lot of us felt like, why didn't you get a divorce sooner? I've
heard a lot of my friends say that about their parents. Yeah.
I wish my mother hadn't stayed as long as she did. It was actually more painful that she did that because you feel the tension in the home. You know there's a problem. You hear the screaming. You hear the fighting. It's something that then becomes a part of us as children. And for her to walk away would be saying, especially to her daughters, don't put up with this. This isn't how you live. Time is short. I'm a big believer in not wasting my time on people who serve to injure me. So I don't care if you're married to them or related to them. If they're destroying your soul, it's a good time to go. And I would have to say for the children as well, having been in their shoes, I very much felt that way when my mother was married to her husband. She was married several times, but to this particular one that I'm thinking about, when she was married to him, it was such a volatile household and it wasn't a good place to be, especially as a sensitive for me, which is when I learned how to sort of do, out of body experiences. A lot of kids who grow up in homes like that will learn how to walk outside of their window, outside of the house while they're in their bed trying to go to sleep. You sort of go somewhere else. And it's something that people do that are learning or trying to get away. So as far as staying for comfort, you hold the purse strings as well. Don't let him define who you are. Recognize your power in this situation and get a good lawyer. Do you have any comments on that?
Yes. I've been waiting for you to finish.
Excuse me.
No, you're good. Okay. People, they look at verbal and emotional abuse as something where they're like, oh yeah, but it's not like he's hitting me. It's not physical. It's like, no, that's still horrible. Mm-hmm. That is horrible, especially for her kids to watch and go through. And you're right. Her kids are going to look at that and say, well, mom didn't leave, so it must not be that bad. Or I'll put up with it. And then they'll probably attract that in their life of people surrounding themselves.
It's a familiar energy to them.
So he's a manipulator. He loves control. And he always wants to be right. Get out.
Yeah.
Get out. Take half, 100%. Go to your support system, whether it's family, friends, whoever. They will help you, and don't feel bad asking for help.
Yes.
They'd rather you ask them and help you than you just suffer.
Right.
And then them never know. Right. Yeah.
Well,
get out for
also,
sure.
Don't worry about the judgment of the people that don't have to live inside of those walls.
Yeah.
They can talk about you, they can drag you through the mud, but they're not walking in your shoes. All you need to know is you have to do what's best for you and your children. And this isn't about anybody but them, because your husband took himself out of the equation when he turned on the family by the abusive speak that he uses around her and the children. And so he's going to have to get well on his own. That's not something she can do for him. He's going to have to want it. And he just hasn't gotten there yet. Maybe her stepping out of the picture will give him time to be alone with his thoughts and recognize what he's lost.
I agree.
Let's go to the next one.
Hello, and thank you so much for taking my call. Here is my love relationship question scenario. My name is Jennifer, and I met a man in 2009, and there was an immediate connection with him. His name is Eric. It was a 2-month whirlwind romance, and I fell in love like I have never known. Due to extenuating circumstances, we had to abruptly stop seeing each other, and although life went on, my love for him never stopped. Fast forward to 2020. We crossed paths and began seeing each other again and went full force into the relationship. For us, it was picking up where we left off. However, for our family and our kids, I have 3, he has 4, it was rushed. We have tried on 3 separate occasions to live together, but it feels like there is so much negativity surrounding us, and I don't know if it's coming from us or the outside influences. We began going to couples counseling, and we were told we were twin flames and have had multiple lifetimes that have always ended in traumatic ways. At this point in our journey, we are living apart, and I don't have faith with us trying again. I'm unsure if we have a future. Not sure if this needs to be finalized or should we try to continue to work things out. I have been asking for guidance from loved ones that have recently passed, and I just feel stuck in not knowing how to continue either with him or on my own. Thank you.
Real fast. She said they went to couples therapy and the therapist told her they're twin flames.
Yeah, that's not something that couples therapists tend to do unless they went to somebody who's also
more
considers
spiritual.
themselves more spiritually based. So that was unusual. Can I say this about twin flames and soulmates and all the words we get attached to in love? And these things do exist. However, I find that a lot of people will be told by someone who can't prove one way or another that that's true, first of all, which is why I don't do past lives, because I was more of an evidential medium where, it could be validated by third parties, the information that was being given by the dead. So that's more of my backing. When somebody's telling you that you have this soulmate or that you're twin flames, that doesn't mean that you were. I mean, that would be something that you would have to sense on your own. That would be a feeling. It's a very deep feeling that person's such a big part of you and you feel as though you've crossed paths before. You know that you've walked together before. So for the therapist to say that, I kind of question what kind of licensing this therapist has, because I would think that could put them in jeopardy of losing a license. I mean, chime in, therapists, if you're out there. But when they're talking about this is your twin flame for the last 3 lifetimes, which may or may not be true and cannot be validated, that might make Jennifer more likely to stay with somebody that she's not happy with.
Well, I'm curious what the negativity is. You know what I mean? She didn't really touch on why they're not good. Right. She was just like, I don't know if I should stay with him. It's like, girl, you just answered your own question by saying that, because obviously, but I get where she's coming from. Whirlwind romances are so hard to let go of. So I get why she's like, well, no, but it was great. It can be great. Okay. But now because I've seen a lot of people do this where they look at the person and they see the, what's it called?
The illusion?
Kind of. Like they could be this one day, or I could turn them into what I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't change them.
No,
they have to change themselves.
So it's a little bit of fantasy.
I would say with 7 kids between the two of them from different relationships, not together, that's a lot.
That's a lot
to overcome. That's a lot of personalities to overcome in how they feel about you, whether or not the mothers use those kids as pawns to, get their points across through the children. I mean, I'd need more information on that, but it just seems to me that if they were getting a bunch of negativity, you've got 7 kids between you, get used to that until they move out. And then you might still get it when they're adults, because they were from other relationships. I was the stepchild multiple times. I remember sort of the conflict that could take place and all of the infighting. And so Jennifer and Eric, if you wanted to stay together and you're truly in love, I'd say fight for one another, fight to be together, because love isn't always easy. Sometimes you do have to fight for that person and they have to fight for you. And if you do that, it'll keep you together no matter how many outside influences try and pull you apart. But you need to expect pushback from the children and issues in their life. Sometimes you get a jealousy from a daughter where she, wants her father's attention, and the new mom or girlfriend is taking his attention away. And, all the way around, there's complications, or can be, in these relationships. There's a lot of layers. You're dealing with children. So I would say if they want to be together, fight to be together, and decide that in the end, the two of you are going to spend the rest of your lives together, come hell or high water, and let the kids know that too. So, but at the same time, be there for the children. These are opportunities. I see stepchildren as opportunities for you to have relationships with these young people that were brought to you as sort of gifts in a way. And I know they can be complicated, but they have a lot of beautiful things to share, and different energy variations for us to understand and learn, and where you can be there for children whose mom doesn't sometimes say the right thing, or maybe the mom's not there so much. Maybe the mom butt heads with the daughter. It's an opportunity for you to be her confidant. So I actually see the stepkids as bonuses in this scenario. Maybe it's not as easy as when you'd biologically share those kids with one another, but I do see it as an opportunity for all these beautiful relationships to blossom from it, and you to pull the family together. What they need to know first and foremost, those children, is that the two of you are going to stay together no matter what, and that you have this love, this feeling for one another, that you're not going to sacrifice to anyone nor let go. I would say get a different therapist, though.
I agree. Also, I remember the word I couldn't think of. Potential.
Okay.
I just had to say that. It was driving me nuts.
That's okay.
But no, I agree with everything that you just said.
Well, fantastic. And I know that Jennifer had said she wasn't sure it was worth fighting for. I will say people give up very easily these days. They're not used to pushback. They're more sensitive than we used to be. We used to be a lot more thick-skinned. And I don't mean any disrespect by that. I just mean, if this is somebody you're truly in love with, because to fall in love, I didn't hear her say she fell out of love, so I'm assuming she's still in love, then you fight for that. That's worth fighting for. It doesn't come along every day. They get rid of a relationship assuming they're going to find it again, and sometimes you never find that again. So if it's wonderful, if you are happy together, where there's a will, there's a way. You can do this. These are not insurmountable problems. They're problems that people have gotten through for all time, of having blended families. And they'll continue to get through them. You just have to decide if you're one of those people. But he also has to do the work. He has to fight for Jennifer. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next.
Hi, Allison. This is Vicki Chavez calling you from Orange County, California. And I have a question. First, I'm a K through 12 sign language interpreter. And last year, one of my students, one of my former students, passed away. And about 4 months later or so, I had a dream, and the student I was working with, I worked with them at the middle school. I am now at a high school. And in the dream, I was at the high school I'm working at now. And for some reason, I'm in the hallway waiting for someone. Well, all of a sudden, he came around and then stood in front of me in this dream. And I was like, hi, mijo, how are you? And I'm signing and speaking to him. And he didn't sign back. He didn't speak back. But he had this great smile. He looked so good. And I just took it as, he's okay on the other side. He's doing well. Well, so what I did from there is I contacted my former students who had let me know about his passing and told them about the dream and said, hey, I think he's doing well. I think this is what this dream means, if that gives you guys any comfort. Well, it did, thankfully. So my question is, have you ever brought somebody through who maybe had disabilities in their when they were in the living world? I was just curious how that worked. Or maybe if you brought through a deaf person for another deaf person. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I'm probably rambling. but yeah, just curious. thank you so much for everything you guys do. You seem to have a wonderful family. Kudos to Joe, working on his PhD, your daughters, you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking my call. Bye.
Well, thank you, Vicky. She's cute.
Yeah.
So the reason I wanted to take this question, I think it's a really valid question. It's a good one. So she lost a student that she found out later that had died, and saw him in a dream. And the child smiled at her, but didn't say anything and didn't sign to her. I have brought through many people who had disabilities in the physical world. On the other side, I don't see them with disabilities. The reason the child probably didn't speak in the terms that she's thinking, like in the physical world or sign, is because they communicate telepathically. So that child was communicating to her what he needed her to know with a smile.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew that that was supposed to let her know that he was okay. If he wanted to communicate by speaking, though, it's not something that he couldn't do. It's just on the other side, we communicate telepathically. It's why I don't have language barriers with the dead, because they communicate to me telepathically. Yes, it will seemingly be in English, but that's just so I can understand some of it. And then part of it's telepathically, where it's a sense, a feeling that I get, and I know what they're communicating. So that's why, just to answer Vicky's question, I've brought through people who had been confined to wheelchairs, were missing limbs. They come through climbing trees. They've shown me themselves dancing before. They say they can do the things they couldn't do in the physical world. They don't have those limitations any longer because our physical body's been stripped away, but we still appear as the people that we were, just healed. So if you had burns, those burns are gone. If you were in a wheelchair, the wheelchair's gone. We can, there are no limitations on the other side when it comes to our freedom of movement and being able to live fully. I have a lot of people that I bring through that say they're whole again, is the way they'll put it. They're whole again. So I think that answers her question. Do you have something you want to add to that?
No, I like that dream. You know what I mean? It's nice. And I think you're right. I think it was a sense where she was like, he seemed great. Like, he looked great. Big old smile.
Yeah.
I think he's doing well. It's like, yeah, I like that. I think he was trying to tell you that.
So
I think she's spot on.
He did communicate with her in that way. And it's probably not going to be the last time that he does reach out to her.
I do like, though, that she was teaching at elementary and then middle, and now she's in high school, and the dream was in high school, and he was there at the high school basically saying, like, hey, like, I'm growing older, you know what I mean?
Right,
on the other side, like,
I'm moving
with you.
forward, right?
I'm moving forward with you. Like, thank you.
You know, I bet that one of the things he loved the most, and it's why he showed himself at the school, is that he loves school.
Yeah, I agree.
So he probably has somewhat attached himself to his teacher so that he can see the kids and be around the learning and help her, guide her in ways through her life that'll make it easier for her, or help her to communicate with other people who had the same disability he did in an empath way.
Yeah.
You know, being able to just sense what it is they're trying to tell you or what they're trying to get across to you. Even if they're not signing, that you feel when something's wrong. I think Vicky's going to get turned up with abilities, and she's going to start feeling more where there's no words said, there's no signing. And it can really take a hold of your life and take you in another direction as well. So I think he's one of her teachers now.
I love that. I love it.
So can we move on to that next question?
Yes. Last question.
Hi, Allison. This is Susan. And I'm just wondering, I've had a couple, the last two people I've dated have passed away. One from, I think, an eating disorder, and one from alcoholism. So I'm just wondering, I guess if you want to generalize it, what causes a spirit like mine to attract people like that end up not being here very long. Both individuals passed in their 50s. So it's just interesting that that's happened. Anyway, if you can answer that question, that'd be great. Thanks.
So the reason I played that question for you is because you give the most amazing advice, and you've always been taught you're the relationship guru amongst Gen Z. So I want you to hear some of the questions that come along later in life that are more complicated, because I want to teach you these things now so that later, you know the answers to them, even if I'm not around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Susan, thank you for calling in. Sounds like she had relationships. They had early deaths. They had premature passings. In my experience, people that have patterns in their life, such as hers, are being taught something. There's something she's supposed to be learning from the people that she's drawing to her. At the same time, some women have fixer energy, where broken people gravitate to them because they feel like an anchor, or they feel safe to those people who are broken. So I think she was drawing in people like that, but I think it's for a reason. I believe it's so that she can learn how to be there in late stages of people's life. So even though they had premature deaths, she made the ends of their lives happier because they had moments of heaven being created with her in this reality, in this world. So Susan sounds like somebody who might be hard on themselves and think they could have done more. Susan, please, if that's the case, don't do that. They're put in your life to teach you something. Maybe you become a death doula and become certified in that. Maybe you become a hospice nurse. It's in preparation for something bigger for you in life. It's supposed to be part of your evolution. At the same time, you have to be mindful and very aware that you draw in people that have issues. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of people have issues, but you do have to conserve your energy and make sure you're not being spread too thin. Some people can be helped through issues, and some people have to help themselves, which is actually more often they have to help themselves. So I would say I think she's put in these people's lives to give them some last versions of heaven before they die, but also to learn about life and death, and possibly it leads to a career for her.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, he always talks about how you have your karma and your dharma in your life. And I agree with you. I think this is a pattern for her. But I think since she's noticed, I mean, this is a pretty obvious pattern to notice, but since she's noticed it, I think going forward with future partners, she can see the signs way earlier than she's been seeing, but I think she's a fixer too.
I think so too. And some people become very familiar with the energy of broken people when they've been fixing them their whole life, or if she had to be a parent to herself because her mom or dad wasn't really there for her. Yeah, I don't know the circumstances. I'm just putting those out there as variables that can contribute to having the draw to people who need fixing. She probably saved every puppy and kitty that she walked past on her way home from school. So some people do have that nurturing, healing energy. I will say she's going to have to train herself to be attracted to people with healthy energy.
I agree.
So, and it's going to feel maybe even boring to her, or like they don't need her as much. And she might feel insecure about that because she hasn't had as much time to do the fun things and to build the memories and the life with somebody who doesn't need an assist all the time, doesn't need money from you, doesn't need your time, doesn't need to unload their childhood damages on you. Somebody that doesn't have an addiction, somebody that doesn't have a disorder, then your time is your own. And a lot of people don't know what to do with it because it's not tied up in someone else. So I just would say to Susan, be mindful of that and align yourself if you're looking for an actual partner in life with somebody who's already got it together.
Similar goals as her.
Yeah, I would say so. But I do think that somehow this leads to a career path for her. So she might look into some of the options of how her understanding of the other side can be helped to help not fix people. Like if she became a grief counselor.
I was going to say a counselor,
right?
For sure. Yeah.
Then she'd be helping people through something that won't be there forever and don't call her at home. And she doesn't have to make dinner for them and take care of them when they're sick. This is something when you're at work, you're doing that. And when you're not there, they have another support system.
Yeah.
So it would make sense for her to have a career, but she's got to be strong with her borders and boundaries of keeping her career, and when she's at home, being able to relax and enjoy herself and invest her energy back into herself.
I agree. Yeah.
Her hobbies and growing as a person and who she wants to be when she leaves this physical realm, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. This is why I love doing this with you. It's so nice to have a different sounding board than your dad. I get the best of both worlds. I get somebody with a high EQ, your emotional quotient, and then I've got dad with a massive IQ. So I'm winning all the way around. So where can people find you on social media?
Well, as you know, I'm a photographer. So if you want to check out some of my work, it's at Sophia DuBois Photo on Instagram.
Yeah,
the same for my website too.
Right. And I love that people have always gone to you for your relationship advice. And I'm just glad to have a Gen Zer that has it totally together that I can come to and say, tell us how you see it from your perspective. So I'm Gen X, you're Gen Z. I like how we roll together.
Me too.
So if you are watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. And thank you, Sophia, for being here. We'll see you in a few weeks with some fresh call-ins. And thank you to my listeners. Tune in next week for a new episode of The Dead Life. I'm Allison DuBois. This is The Dead Life. And all of my believers out there, don't stop believing.
Join us next week on The Dead Life. And don't forget to subscribe now to get every episode sent straight to your phone.